Okay, I gotta go. Introduction on the main stage is finished. Some of you are just right now joining the room. I'm really pleased to see you. Welcome to the Algolia 101, a comprehensive and advanced developer training from data ingestion to front end. That's what we are going to do together. We are going to send data to Algolia and build a front end. It's a developer training, but don't worry, we won't do many lines of code. As you will see today, Algolia and building an Algolia experience is globally low code. And that's what we try to do here at Algolia, and that's why what we are going to learn together today. I'm Jérôme Cohonner. I'll be your host for this session, but I won't be alone. I'll be with Jérôme, Elias, and Steven. All of them will play a role during that session, 3 hours and a half. That's a pretty long session, and that's why we are quite a few in order to go through the different concepts of Algolia and some live coding sessions. We're all part of the customer success, customer solutions team, meaning that all of us are there to play a role with our customers. And we, on a daily basis, work with customers, helping them to design and to get a best-in-class Algolia implementation. And for sure, when you have a best-in-class Algolia implementation, you have a best-in-class search implementation. I don't know if they want to say hello by the camera quickly, or maybe it's just I don't see them. I see my camera, but they're not far from us. Here is Stephen joining. Let's have a look at the agenda. So we are already a few minutes late, but that doesn't really matter. Here they are, G1, Elias. Nice to see you there. We have representatives from Europe, myself and G1 in France. Steve is in UK, and we have our faraway friend from US, Elias. Nice to see you guys. We start with a quick welcome. I already only have 1 minute left. I have to go really quick. But we jump straight away on data model and synchronization hosted by G1. Then we jump on live coding session, and I will be back for that session. We have a 10 minutes break that will give us a little buffer if we are running late. And we share with you a few concepts around building the UI. We jump back in a live coding session. This live coding session will be hosted by two of my friends here, Elias and Steve. One will cover Vanilla.js. For those of you who want to stay for Vanilla.js implementation of the UI, don't move. It's just over there. It's in this working session. For the others, the React one, you will have to leave just for a time this session and look at the other sessions, and you will find a breakout room for React. It will be around 9:30, but we'll be there. We'll talk about it later on. A little break after the live coding sessions. We need time after. We need a bit of rest after coding. And we jump back in one key concept of Algolia, relevancy. How to tweak your relevancy, how to rank your records and your results. That's it. And we jump back all together for a quick wrap-up. About live coding, I already said it, 2 tracks, 2 different rooms. We'll come back. In any case, you will be with Elias or Steve, but G1 and myself will stay around and we'll look at the chat. So during the live coding sessions, if you have any question, feel free to use the chat. We'll keep an eye on it and we'll try to help you. Here it is. Here is the list of different sessions. You can see the breakout rooms dedicated to React. That's the one you will be using at 9:30 PST. depending where you are. Few words about tooling. First, you need an Algolia app with 10K available records. If you don't, we are set up an app ready to be used by you, by all of you. We'll share in a moment what you need as app ID and admin API key to test it and to use it. For dev, you will need a dev environment, including Node.js and an IDE. For us, and you can do the same, we even encourage you to do the same. We will directly do it online using codesandbox.io. The good part of it is that we will be able to share directly the link of what we are doing. And if you struggle with a tech issue, you can also, if you do the same, send the link to us and we can give an eye and help you live. Our mission for today, we are going to build a Netflix concurrent. So we don't really own the video, we'll just display posters. Basically, we want to build a streaming company search experience. We are going to build that platform from scratch. We are using a dataset from EMDB. We just downloaded using their API. We created a JSON file that we will share with you. We also have a little CSS file to make it look a bit nice. We'll share it as well. That's our goal for today. Building that UI, importing data, building that UI, and making your result shine with a good relevance. Let's start. Right now, I will leave the stage and let Jérôme share her screen and first a few slides about data ingestions.
Great. Thank you, Jérôme. So I hope everyone can see my screen. Because I no longer have access to the chat. So just so that you know, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them in the chat. And Jérôme, Elias, and Steven will be very glad to get back to you. So before we start, a few quick presentation about me and my role at Algolia. So my name is Jiwon. I am South Korean, and I've been working at Algolia for 1.5 years now. And I am a customer success engineer. And what this role consists of, it used to be called previously technical account manager. Just in case you saw one of our videos in the past, you must have heard of this title, but right now it's customer success engineer. And our role is to help our customers get the most out of Algolia and offer technical guidance. And I'm very excited to be presenting you this first series of workshop. So I'm going to move on the slide. Whoops. So this is the first workshop of this series this series today of the one-on-one implementation. So why this workshop? It's because before you start using the dashboard, and so you first need to know how to organize your data to index it to Algolia. So let's move to the next slide. So the data model. So for those of you who have not yet had a chance to look at our dashboard, I don't know, so I don't have access to the chat, but I hope a lot of you had a chance to access our dashboard. So if not, this is a quick reminder to show you what you will have access to. So on the top left side, you see the application ID. So this is a segmented space for data related to one domain or a project. And then right next to the application ID, you have the index name. So what is an index? So it contains a group of records with similar products or articles. And just know that whenever you contact our support team or you interact with our support team or customer solutions team, you will have to provide the application ID and the index name. So these are pretty important information to provide to us and to keep in mind. And also inside an index, you will have multiple records. So what is a record? So you have to think of a record as a product. So it's a single item or a product stored in Algolia. And inside a record, you will have attributes. So what are attributes? So they're a pair of key and value, and it's a field within a record. And then on the left side, you can see the facets. So for the facets, you will have to define them on the configuration tab of your dashboard. I'm not going to look into that detail today, but this is where you will have to declare them. to appear on the left side. So let's move on to the next slide. So before I deep dive into the data format, just remember that Algolia is not a database. So only data that is used towards search should be indexed within Algolia. So this is not a database. Please keep that in mind. So all your records must be in JSON format. So our API handle this for you in most cases. All the acceptable data types that we have are booleans, strings, integers, floats, arrays, and objects, including nested. And for Boolean, so I don't know if you know it, but it's true or false value. And all of your records should have an object ID. An object ID is a unique alphanumeric value to identify a record. And if you do not provide one, Algolia will generate one automatically for you. And all of the records need that attribute, object ID. And then after, you will need a custom ranking attributes. It can be a numerical or a Boolean value. So no strings, please, because if you decide to pick this attribute as a string, it will not have any effect on your ranking strategy. And for your dates, we recommend that you keep it in a Unix timestamp format. And for the listing, table arrays, and not a string with commas. And for the hierarchical categories, you can see the data format below here, category level 0, category level 1. And then, so I mentioned you previously that whenever you contact our support, we need the application ID and also the index name. So this is a strong recommendation. I mean, this is a recommendation I strongly recommend that you follow, because when you start having, if you have only one index, that's fine, but you will see that you will need more than one index in general. So I recommend that you start having good practice in the naming. So for example, you start with the environment, whether it's production, staging, or development. And then you have the domain. So if you have multi-domain applications, for example, so that's very strongly recommend that you precise it. And also the data type of data, for example, is it a product, a category, or an index for articles? And then also the language. For example, if you have multi-language indices, always practical to precise it here in the index name. And also if you have a sorting index, for example, if it's price ascending, price descending, or if it's a rating index. And then you will also have query suggestions index. And so that will be automatically generated for you if it's query suggestions. And also Algolia only accept, I mean, not that we only accept this, but it's recommended that you only index these 4 types of data. So the first one being searchable data. So any attribute that your user will search against and in your search bar and that you want to display. So it can be a name. So in the case of our demo today, it will be a movie catalog. So it will be, I guess, the actor's name, or, the movie title, the realizator name, and so on. And then you have the business ranking data. So these are attributes used to influence the ranking or your results. So here on the slide, you can see the best-selling rank. You also have, you can any business metrics that is relevant for your use case and that you can use here. So usually it's an integer, or you can also use a Boolean here. And then you have the filterable data. So it can be any attribute that your user can filter on to refine results. For example, free shipping, true or false, or any category of your choice. And then you have the display data, so any images or URL, so any attributes that you want to use to display to the front end. And then next, so how to send the data to Algolia. So now that we've seen how what your data should look like, what information you have to send to Algolia, now we're going to see how you're going to send this information. So I think I remember that yesterday someone asked in the chat about no code, so if you do not have an expensive technical team, maybe you are looking for, simple ways to index your data to Algolia. So we have 7 ways to push data. So the first one, we're not going to look all of them into detail, but just know that these exist. So we have the no-code ones. So the first one being the JSON and CSV file upload from the dashboard for development and testing purpose. And then you have the Algolia connectors. So this is, I think, pretty out-of-the-box one. This is done through the dashboard. And then the Algolia crawler. So this is a separate feature. And you have the low-code one through the integrations. And then the Algolia CLI as well. I think that was released pretty recently. And we also have the custom code with the RESTful API and the API client, the last one being the most used and popular among our customers. So I'm not going to look into detail of all of them, but let's look at the connectors one. So it's being used for commerce tools, BigQuery, or online accessible JSON CSV files. So it's directly from the dashboard. I think I'll show you, Jérôme might be showing it to you after, I'm not sure when, but I'll show you at some point during the workshops where you can find the connectors on your dashboard to set up your connectors. So, and if you don't see the connector that you are looking for, you can always submit it here in the Want a Connector tab here at the bottom. And so the next one, so it's the command line. So it's mainly for test purposes or when your backend exports a JSON file usable for Algolia. So it's pretty basic. So it's great if you want to retrieve or alter some index settings, for example, add synonyms, add a rule, and few other actions as well. So other common application manipulation, but I would say it's not. It's mostly for test purposes. And then, so you have the low-code integration. So when you're using any of the platforms that you see on the right part of the screen, you see, for example, Shopify, Magento 2, WordPress, all of these are well connected with Algolia. So you just have to, it's pretty simple, I would say. I have myself helped a few customers implementing it on their website, and you just have to follow the instructions to set up your data flow. And then the last one, so this is the most used and recommended one. So these are available in the most common programming languages. So you have direct or indirect access to the data, and if you need to transform it programmatically before sending it to Algolia, and you can use and these are open source, and yes, they're pretty convenient to use. And then the last part will be data synchronization. So it's about how often you have to synchronize your data. So you have the first option, which is real-time updates. So updates to the database that are immediately reflected to Algolia by using single updates, or you have buffered updates. So they are buffered before being sent, improving the indexing performance and fewer network calls. And then the last one, which is the full reindexing, and that we strongly encourage our customers to do on a regular basis and to have it programmed. So these are operations that reads the full database content and override the pre-existing content of the Algolia index. And so that's all for me. So I think the next part will be Jérôme. So I'm leaving my spot to Jérôme.
Thanks a lot, Jérôme. I'm back here with you, and we are going to code. We are going to code for indexing part. You will see just a few lines of code, really quick. Way to implement an indexing pipeline. We'll go for something globally simple today, but we'll also have a look at our documentation to understand about more features and how it can be used. Let me share my screen. First thing to do is maybe to get ready. Here we are. Here are a few information. Please type. No, don't type. It's there on the slide. You can take a screenshot if you want, but the most important part is at the bottom of the slide. You have a link to our GitHub Algolia datasets repositories. Let's have a look. It's within Algolia organization. You can look for datasets. And in datasets, you will find a DevCon 2023 folder. Oh, Elias is sharing the link. Oh, smart it is. Oh, thank you, Elias. You're far smarter than I do. In the README, you'll find API key, API app ID, admin API key and read API key. We'll talk about it later. We created two applications, one located in US, one located in EU. Just pick up the one that is closer to you. And if you have an app available with enough storage 10K records, just use it. That will be easier because you will be able to log directly in your dashboard and see it in action in your dashboard. That's always better than maybe being blind, because we'll be blind just using the API instead of the dashboard interface. In that folder, you'll find also movies.json. I encourage you to directly download that on your desktop, because we'll use that movies.json as our dataset, and we'll import that dataset. So let's start. As I said, I'm going to use codesandbox.io. If you don't have an account already, what did I code? I probably did some misspelling. Don't know where I was sent, but kind of a phishing website. Not good. Codesandbox.io. If you don't have an account, that's really quick, because you can directly connect your GitHub account and you have multiple options for authentication with single sign-on. And I will just create a new sandbox. And from there, later on, you will probably use Vanilla.js or React. I will create a Node.js application. Really basic. We'll see there's almost nothing in it. That's the goal of it. I will just start my Node.js application. Okay. It's already started. There is even a system that will automatically, you can see that none is running. So meaning each time I update and I save my index.js file, it will be updated automatically. I could stop that if you want, Control-C, and run it manually. We can leave it like this for the time we'll see later on. But let's have a look at index.js. Hello, Algolia community. I save, and it's automatically run. Hello, Algolia community. We're ready to code. First thing you need is to load Algolia search libraries that you can find. It's available directly on our GitHub also, because all those libraries are open source. So you can see the code of it. You can see how it works. What we want here is to add directly our our library. So I will stop here. I will close that tab and I will create a new terminal. Yarn add Algolia search. I should have saved. Okay, here are a list of Algolia libs that has been added. Let me just save. So like this, it will be. I'll make sure that it's updated in my packages. And now I can use Algolia search. First thing to do, really easy. I will simply initialize it. Basic require. And I will initialize my client. Copy pasting here my Algolia search. And Algolia search takes two parameters. The ones we've been sharing with you if you want to use it, or that are the ones you can find directly in your dashboard. That's API ID, app ID, and admin API key. When you go in your dashboard, you can find it directly. Let me refresh because I will probably be disconnected. In your settings, you find your API keys, you find app ID at the top, and then search only API key, admin API key. So as soon as you want to build your indexing script, you will use an API key with write access. Admin API key is not always the best one to use. You can use it here for test purposes, but we also recommend you to generate custom API keys with the relevant ACLs in order to make sure that you don't do mistake and that you don't have admin API keys stored within your different applications. It's easier to renew a specific dedicated to one application API key than renewing a global admin API key that may use in different places. So consider creating multiple API keys for the different usage you may have. I will go the easy path. For today, I will take my cluster in Europe and I will simply add that. App ID and API key, admin one. So now I have my search client ready to be used, and I will be able to instantiate a connection with an index. So my index equal client.init index, and I will give it a name. If you are using our shared cluster with us today, please ensure that you put first your name or a prefix that will be yours, maybe your initial, something like, to make sure that you don't use the name of a friend here in the community. We just will have quite a few indices if we're all using that application, so just make sure to prefix. So I will say Jérôme _ movies. And you know what? You don't need to create that index before. That's enough. I don't have to go in the dashboard and create my index. No, just sending data to the index will automatically create the index in Algolia. So nothing more to do there. Let's have a look at our data. I'll drop here. You can simply drag and drop from your computer. So I'll drop two files. First one is one single record, so we'll be able to have a look. And the other one is, where are they? The full movie dataset. So it's 18 gig, 18 megabytes. We mostly speak in gigabyte when we speak about our customer dataset, but here for today, we get smaller. We have a smaller dataset of 18 megabytes. Let's look at one single record. As you have seen with G1 just before, this is a JSON file. When you want to send many records at the same time, it will be an array, but here it's a single one. I have a list of actors in an array. I have my backdrop image. I have the budget of the movie. I have the director. I have a Boolean featured. This is a featured film. I want to use that flag maybe sometime to promote some of the movies in my ranking. Not that budget here is an integer. Don't forget, if you need at one stage to do numerical comparison, make sure you are sending numeric values, because I could send something like that. It would look almost the same, but it's a string. I won't be able to make a filter on it like any movie with a budget over 500K, something like. So make sure about the data format you are sharing. Same with floats. Here for the original price, I have a float 7.99, etc. I have a list of yours. I have another Boolean, a flag, is it on sale or not? I have the original title, an overview, popularity, poster, price, etc., a date. Oh, this one is a timestamp. Important to keep in mind if you need to send a date, timestamp. Title, vote average, vote count, year, and the one and only mandatory attribute. There is only one attribute that is mandatory within Algolia. That's the object ID. It's what you need to add to any of your record in order to make sure later on to be able to update it or to run specific rules, for example, for specific objects. Otherwise, we'll be able to generate random object IDs, but it won't help you the day you want to update a specific object. Good to know. Algolia is built for small and highly structured data. That's a small and highly structured record. From time to time, you may have larger set of data, like a really large overview. This one is reasonable. We do recommend you to have an average record size on your index under 10 kilobytes. That's a lot of text, but that's still a bit small. You can have a bit of upstick, a few of them maybe higher than 10 kilobytes, but globally, that's what you should consider. You will find in the doc how to use a feature called distinct in order to split your records into multiple ones and just display one of those records as part of the original set. That won't be the case for today. We keep it simple with that type of record and that kind of size of record. So here is one record, and we have our movies.json here that has our 10K or something like records. Let's go back on index.js. I want now to push those data directly inside Algolia. Usually, it's where you connect to a database. It's where you connect to your system API to retrieve your data. We are doing it simple here today. We just take the movies from the file. No spelling. That should be it. And that's it. It's over. Almost nothing more to do except saying index, save, objects. Giving my list of objects. And let's do a little output here. And let's run node index.js. Finger crossed. That's all, folks. Apparently, it worked. Let's have a look. Let's go. So I sent it to our European cluster. Let's go in search and see if we have something. Oh, I see I have someone that is using our server here also, GJS. Head over, and we have my index. I suppose it's mine, Jérôme_movies. And I have my records already there. The Great Mouse Detective, Archer and the Invisibles. A lot of records. We'll see later on with G1 how to rank all those records and how to get maybe better ranking and how to select which one will come first. It's already ready to be used here. And that's amazing because it took us 1, 2, 3, 4, something like less than 10 lines of code, and it's already there. In a few seconds, our 10K records have been sent to Algolia and automatically indexed. Just to let you know, behind the scene, our API client is obviously using our REST API, and our API client brings you some automatic mechanism to send requests for multiple batches. Instead of sending the 10K records, it may have split the records in 1,000 records per batch, so making multiple HTTP requests to our REST API. But you don't have to take care about that, because the client is doing that for you. And that's why also it's really important for you to use not directly the REST API, but really the API clients in the many different languages that are available in order to make sure that you rely on all the mechanisms that we implemented as part of it, including fallback mechanism, retry, automatic batch, etc. Let's have a look at a couple of extra functions that may be interesting. Let's go to our doc. We have been using save objects. Save objects allows you to just pass an array of objects and send it directly to an index. You can add a few options, including auto-generate object IDs if not exist. I talked about it, that's possible, but if you want to update later on, that won't work. You need that object ID to be stable for updates. You can run multiple times save objects. Save objects works the same for updating an object based on the object ID or adding a new object, as we just did. You also have a save object without the S that takes a single object. I'm used to say when you have a single object that's not that complex to put it in an array and always use the save objects, but that's another story. I would like to have a look at another one that is really interesting, that is called replace all objects. From time to time, you want to do a full reindex, and you want to do it by starting back at scratch. You want to take your live database and replace all the content in Algolia. Replace all objects is there for that. And the good part of it is that even if your indexing takes longer than mine because it's only 10K and you may have millions of records to send, replace all objects as a built-in mechanism to create a temporary index the new objects within the temporary index. And then when it's already all indexed, just switch and replace in a matter of milliseconds the live index by the temporary index. That's really helpful, and that saves time because you make sure that you don't have a state where your live index have half of the record. It's always on the temporary, and the temporary just replace the live index at the end of the process. That's really powerful and easy to use. In a live environment, you will probably have updates and need some time to delay it. You also have a function called partial update objects. That partial update objects allows you to update only a few records within, a few attributes within one or many records. That is especially helpful when you have a complex data flow where two different cron jobs, for example, will take care into pushing different parts of the same object to Algolia, like a specific data flow for stocks or for price. Then you just update the price or the stock value within the existing already object. That's a way to enhance your data flow and make sure it works. Delete object. Same way, if you have a data flow that requires also you to automatically delete objects as soon as it is deleted in the database, you can use that function. You pass an array of object IDs. We do recommend to use that method and not delete by. Delete by performances are lower than delete objects, so we always recommend you to use delete objects. Feel free to ask questions if you have more. That's already good. Let's try to set one single object. I had my fifth element record just before. Let's have a look at that. I'll go there. I'll try to search for it. Here it is. I have my movie. You see it's already searchable. Everything is ready. It's already searchable. I have a few information. I really love that movie. To be honest, my first daughter is named Lilu, like the main female character in that movie. So I want to boost the popularity of that movie. Let's do it. Where is my custom box? Here. I will load my fifth element object, and that's, I think, fifth element, the JSON. I will pass it there as an array, because within an array, because I could remove the S, but you know, I'm lazy. It doesn't like me to start with maybe a numerical like this, whatever. And within my JSON, I will boost the popularity. Popularity was 70 something. Where is it? Popularity, okay. 90. Save. Go back on index. Send. And go back here. Just to let you know, our API client has, within the JavaScript of the API client that is in use, also in our dashboard, we use our own mechanism. We use our own API, JavaScript API client as a cache if you do the same exact request. So sometime you want to either change a request to see the update or just refresh the page. And where is my popularity? Popularity 90. It's ready, it's there. Okay, I will stop there for the updates. You can see, and it can be helpful, you can even edit directly here in the dashboard. You can also upload a file from here or add, but you can also use the connectors as talked about by G1 just previously. Connectors are here in data sources. In data sources, you will find the connector. Feel free to have a look. You'll find the JSON connector. It's here. Sorry. CSV. It can download for you a file from an FTP or HTTP server, but also BigQuery or Promise Tools. Why connectors? And we also have integrations like Magento. Integration push data from the Magento server, for example, to Algolia. Connectors fetch data from Algolia and send requests to Commerce Tools to an HTTP server to get the JSON. That's just a reverse way of doing things. We fetch while usually you push. And last final action, really quickly. Really basic, sorry, I'm automatically disconnected after time for security purpose. We'll do one thing. There is a lot of things you can customize, starting by the searchable attributes, but that you will cover that question with G1 later on. But to help my colleagues about the UI, we'll do one thing, is to set a facet. We'll use the yours attribute as a facet. So attributes for faceting, yours, I said. You will ask, okay, but I'm using the API. I cannot do it like this because you're using our API app ID and admin key, so you don't have access to that directly. No problem. What we do in the dashboard, we can also do using the API client. So this means that if I look at my doc and I search for settings, here you are, index.set settings. It's an object of settings. Let's have a look at it. Settings parameter, attributes for faceting. Woo, that's easy. Let's do that like for our last action. Index dot set settings. What I've just done using my dashboard, I can do it also using code. Attribute for faceting, it takes an array, and my attribute I was looking for is shores. Just comment the rest of the code. Don't want to update many times. I run again, and that's it. You're setting what I've just done previously using the dashboard. I've done it also using the code. 52, depending on your time zone, that may be not exactly that. I won't speak about the hour exactly, depending where you are. We are over by 2 minutes, but it's time for break. If you have any question, if you were able to follow, that's wonderful, and feel free to share that you have your data ready for the next upcoming part of the session. And if not, feel free to ask questions directly in the chat. We'll come back in about 7 minutes now. Thanks a lot. Okay, it's already time to come back and continue our journey together. We'll still have to hear my voice for 30 minutes, but we just after that go into breakout rooms for UI workshop. But before going to the live coding session about building the UI, we need to first understand what we provide as Algolia. We do provide a set of libraries, and we are going to speak about it. Just 30 minutes, maybe a bit less if I'm quick enough. We are back on track on the timing. That's good. Let's see how we are at the end of this session. I hope you enjoy the time of the first live coding part about indexing data. Keep that script somewhere, because if you are using our server right now, I will be later on sharing a new setting files based on what G1 will provide about relevancy knowledge and what she will do in the dashboard. So I will share with you a settings array that object that you will be able to pass to your index in order to get the indexing and the relevancy exactly set as what G1 will do in a live demo with you. But let's speak about the UI. Why front-end? That's the first question you have to ask yourself when we speak about Algolia. At Algolia, we like front-end implementation. We love front-end implementation. But why are we doing that like this? We trust that milliseconds matters. Smooth and almost instant search experience helps to convert. Whatever your business is, having a really blazing fast search makes your user fully comfortable with the search. How many times have you typed a search, press enter, wait seconds to finally see there is maybe no result? We are in 2023. We don't want that anymore. We want instant results. And that's what Algolia can bring you. And to bring you that experience, to bring to your users that experience, we think front-end implementation is a way to go. Each additional step in the architecture brings computation time and network latency. If you go for a backend implementation, you will have to send your request from your browser to your backend. Your backend will send a request to Algolia. Algolia will reply very fast, always. And your backend will compute, templating maybe, will compute some extra information and send it back to your user. Each network step takes time. Each computer in that will take time. And the final experience will decrease. Especially if you try to build a as you type experience. And that's what we aim to do at Algolia. Having that kind of experience, you type a few keys and you already have the result. You don't even have the time to blink. It's already there. I type, I look, it's already there. Especially if you look at your keyboard when you type, like I do sometimes. And that's what's happening. And whatever the kind of network you are on, we are really blazing fast. If you pass by your traditional backend, it will take too long. And in addition to that, you know what? You know the good part of it. All the computation you are paying for, you're paying for your computation. You're paying to have that backend server scaled enough to receive all those requests, even if it's just to send it back to a search engine and get back the result. You're paying for that. You're paying for, if you want to enrich your data, you're paying for your MySQL database, you're paying for, and if it's a cloud service, even a Lambda function, you're paying for those milliseconds you are using. You don't have to, because Algolia, you pay also for it, but it's part of the package. We bring you the computation power of the search as part of the package. So use it. Just remove that load from your server. Use Algolia directly with a front-end implementation. Can you still go back-end? Yes, you can. Oh, it was more enjoyable. Let's do it again. Yes, you can. Oh, this sounds better, no? But if you do, that may sound weird, but if you do, I encourage you to still use our front-end libraries. You can still use our front-end libraries with a back-end implementation. You just switch the server endpoint. Instead of being Algolia directly, it's yours, and you use your own backend as a proxy. You can then enrich your data if you need when you receive back a response from Algolia. Why it's better? It's simply better because our front-end libraries will bring you a lot of flexibility on how to build a search experience, and will bring you a lot of easy implementation steps to manage the state of your search. You know, sometimes it's complex because when you run a search, if you already have built search as I did in the past with other search engine and other solutions, you have to take care about, my user checked that checkbox and toggle that button and have added that filter in that sort method. You have to take care all about the state of the UI, all little options you have on the HTML page, all facet options. You have to compute that, generate a query that will be sent to Algolia. Our front-end libraries take care of that for you. You say, I want to display a facet, and you will see that with my colleagues just a bit later on. It will display it, and it will manage the fact to fire directly a request to our server or your server based on the state of the toggle, for example. And that's why it's better to use our front-end libraries. If you have to, because sometimes you have to, go with your own front-end plus back-end development, you will use our API client directly on your backend. You can, it works, but one thing to keep in mind, the real value of Algolia, especially with new AI features, requires you to send every single request of the user to Algolia to receive live results, because those live results may be personalized. And if we want personalized, don't do any caching. It will break personalization, it will break events, it will break a lot of value added features of Algolia. So you can still, you have many options. Our API client is there for indexing, but also for search. You can use it for a backend implementation, but please make sure that you are not caching a response before sending back to your frontend. What Algolia provides as libraries, we provide free UI libraries. Instant search, autocomplete, recommend. Instant search is there to build your search result page. This also includes category, product listing pages, because a category page is nothing more than just a search, but not with a query, with a filter on a category ID, for example, or category identifier. Autocomplete, we'll see an example, is there to build search menus. And recommend library is there to help you display recommended content, frequently bound together related content. Free UI libraries, 3 different use cases, and if you leverage all Algolia's features, you will probably use those free libraries directly inside your your front end. Sorry. Instant search result page, federated search with suggestions on the left, facets, and obviously a list of results. Autocomplete. Autocomplete, it's about the search menu. I search in different area, popular searches, recent searches, products, categories maybe. I build a rich pre-search, I would say, experience. My user can stop there the search because they already found what they were looking for, or run the search by submitting, clicking on search, or clicking on one of the popular searches and go to the full result page powered by instant search. So those are companions. Those work together to build a full search experience on your website. And finally, recommend. Related products frequently bought together. Those are smaller components because it's there to build carousels, basically, or shelves. It also bring features like trending items, trending facet values based on user behavior. So we are looking how the users are behaving on your website using events. We run that into AI models, and we give you back related products, always linked to one or many products you are displaying on your page. So this is basically used for recommendation of products, but this, and we'll talk about that in the wrap-up session, this can also be leveraged in our streaming platform context. For today, we'll be focusing on instant search. What we want is to build the search page. We cannot do anything in 3 hours, especially as I talk a lot. I know about that. It's a problem most of the time. But as I talk a lot, it takes time, and it gives us less time for live coding. Sorry for that. It's also important to understand the underlying technology and concepts, and that's why we have to talk a bit. Instant search will help us to easily build our search front end. When to use instant search? You want to build a search result page and or all listing pages. As I said previously, category pages, brand pages, anything that lists products and where you want to bring the power of Algolia, as well as filtering options like facets, sorting options, and even leverage merchandising capacities of Algolia, like dynamic ranking, like rules to pin specific objects in a specific position, for example. You can use instant search for full page search experience, as we've seen previously. You can use it also for experience like overlays. You click on the search and it just brings an overlay for the search, full page overlay, and you can use it also that way. It's for single or multi-index. It's what we call federated search. I can, in a single request with the same search box, send search requests to many different indices. You can use it and leverage a standard pagination, page 1, 2, 3, 4, extra, or infinite scroll. Load more results as you scroll down in the page, but the previous one stay on top when you scroll back. Instant search is available like ice cream in a lot of different flavors. Vanilla.js, instant search.js, React and React instant search hooks. Let's be clear, React instant search hooks is where to go if you start a project right now with React. React instant search will be at the time deprecated. We'll go for React instant search. Vue instant search, Angular instant search, and instant search for iOS and instant search for Android. Not that React instant search is works also with React Native, that you will find also on our website, a guide for Flutter. So you have many different options there. Those are different, but the same. Especially instant search, yes, React, hooks, Vue, and Angular. they are all working the same way. You will find the same methods or kind of the same methods, just adapting to the way of working of the technology you are using. So just going nicely and smoothly within your preferred framework, front-end framework. It's a bit different on instant search for iOS or Android, just because of the global environment, but the global philosophy is still there. When we deep dive into it, what's important to keep in mind is that at the end of the day, we are leveraging our REST APIs. Whatever we do, we were in the dashboard, we were indexing with the API, JavaScript API client. Even if you use any other API client like PHP, Java, you will leverage the REST API exactly the same way. So REST API as a foundation. On top of it, a dedicated client for JavaScript, common to all flavors, and a dedicated client for Android or for Swift. Helper is coming on top of the JS path. Helper is there to manage the state of your search, update that state, or trigger a new search each time the state is updated. When I mean state, is as soon as I type a new letter in the search box, the state of my search change. We have a new letter, so we need to fire a new request. That's the goal of the helper. The helper takes care of the state and knows when it needs to send a request to Algolia and update the results. That's what you do with the helper. Most of the time, in a basic implementation, you won't have to know anything about the helper. It's just there. It just looks magic, and you will see that with Steve and Elias. It just looks magic. On top of it, you will find instant search, JS, React, Vue, Angular. Just to let you know, there is a little difference with autocomplete. Autocomplete is one fits all. Autocomplete is one library that works for any front-end framework. So you won't have to download different autocomplete version. Instant search is based on widgets. Widgets is how you will compose your front-end. Widgets are building blocks that have a predefined behavior and a predefined render output. You can style, extend, or create custom widgets. Here is globally the list. You can find that page directly in our dashboard. I will showcase for instant search JS widget. Am I answer? Yes! Oh, we have an amazing search on our doc. I found it directly. You find here a test page to see in action Algolia Instant Search, Autocomplete, and GeoSearch. And you see for Instant Search the different widgets that are available. Breadcrumb, stats, sort by, search box, clear refinement button. Let's see it in action. I will refine using the brown widget, the refinement list widget, a facet. I refine on Samsung. My current refinements is updated. I see brown Samsung. I can remove individual ones, or I can use a clear refinements one to remove any refinement with them. We have refinement list, menu, a hierarchical menu for categories. We have numeric menu, every product between 10 and 100. We have range input, range slider, rate menu, toggle refinement, pagination, it's per page. To be honest, I never used so far it's per page after 2 years at Algolia. But if you want. And here you can also see and preview the infinite hits avec the show more results button that you can figure like this and still have results on top of it. Okay, wonderful. And that's what you are going to use with Steve and Elias. You are going to use those widgets to compose your search result page. You will see that it's almost as easy as drag and drop. You just pick up the widget name, you say, I want that widget to be in that position, and that's it. It's just magic. You may have to customize, for sure. You will probably have to customize. First thing is about the look and feel. First level of customization is simply styling. You use a predefined widget. It's ready, up and running in seconds. You don't have access to the DOM output. You let it as it is, but you style it using CSS, which is fair enough for most of the situations. Second level of customization is extending widget. You take the control on the render output. There is one you always have to. That's the hit widget. You always have to manage your output because you have to pass templates to display your results exactly as you want. But you keep the global mechanism behind the hit widget, and you don't have to change that much the HTML around it. You keep the mechanism to the wrap up around the hit template itself. And finally, you can also create custom widgets to take full control over the UI as well as its render output. But you will have to also manage logic. What should do that widget when I click? What should do that widget when I do whatever on it with it? I need to build that logic, update the state, and make sure that the helper builds a relevant query to be sent to Algolia. Here an example with pagination, standard widget, the default one with the default Algolia CSS. You customize the CSS. You use a connector to change the behavior, like here with a view more button and a different way to see where you are with showing X on X of X, and a custom widget where you build a pagination with a previous and next random item. But as you can imagine here, when you say previous random item, it has to remind which one was the previous one, because it's not about going back to something random. It's going back to the random one that you have seen just before the one you are on. But you don't know where to go, where you are going with next random item. But previous, you have to know, because you have to remember where you were in the navigation. So that's a full custom behavior that you will, in that case, have to build on your own. There's something you won't see, that your end user won't see in your UI, but is one key component of Algolia behavior. It's the insights. As I said already previously, in order to build a nice ranking strategy, in order to pimp your results in the ranking, to make shine the good results, to make them come first when it's a good time for them to be first, depending on the context, we need to know about user behavior. We need to know where the user are clicking. We need to know when the user converts. And it's about the insights. Insight library help us to understand the user journey and helps us than to show more relevant content. 91% of customers say they are more likely to shop with brands that provide offers and recommendations that are relevant to them. And that's what we bring with features like neural, dynamic ranking, personalization, recommend, all those features as part of Algolia that extend the search capacities. All that is based on learning user journey on your website, user interaction with your website and your content. And to know that, we need you to send events. It will drastically improve your content discovery. And that's the key. You can send events wherever you are. You can send it from mobile device, computer, TV, voice interactions using the Algolia API. And events will be sent and distributed over the different set of features in Algolia. Click on conversion analytics, you get analytics directly in your dashboard. And using clicks and conversion analytics, you can leverage A/B test. You can test configuration between two different Algolia indices and see if one configuration performs better than another. That's A/B testing, a really key feature of Algolia when it comes to defining great ranking strategy. Dynamic ranking, AI-driven merchandising, just automatically pushing results that converts better in a specific context. It's not global. It's not because a product is selling really high that with a specific query, that product will always still be the most relevant to send. No, in a specific context, with specific filters, with specific query terms, that bestseller may not be the bestseller for that context. But we know which one is, and we can push it in front of the user at the first position, maybe. Personalization. With personalization, we create unique experience. We boost content based on previous content consumption by the user. We learn about the content the user is looking at, buying, and we make sure to take those information. We build a profile for the user, and we send all that to Algolia. Neural, better query understanding. That's a brand new feature of Algolia. I'm sure you heard about it yesterday. There's amazing stuff about how to better understand the query of our users and make sure that even if content doesn't have the keyword that has been typed, we can still find it because behind the query, there was a concept, there was an ID, and we take that ID, we compare it with our data, and we fetch results with the same concept. Algolia recommend frequently both together related trending content. We've seen that in a screenshot previously, and that is what we also need for why we also need insights. What should I track when we speak about events? The bare minimum is clicks and conversion on a result on search result page and conversion on what we call product detail page. So just after the search. If we come back to our streaming platform, it means that when I click on a result, I will send an event to Algolia saying, hey, that user clicked on that specific movie. And when I start the playback, I will send a conversion. Hey, that user started the playback of that specific movie after that specific search. That's click on conversion after search, and that's a bare minimum to start working with Algolia Insights and start leveraging some of the features. Not that you will have to forward your query ID to your product detail page, streaming show page, whatever, to track effectively. Extend user knowledge. That's the second layer. You click on product cards everywhere on your front page, even if it's not powered by Algolia, you just send. You send as soon as the content is viewed as soon as I land on a product detail page, on a show page, each time a listing page is viewed, and each time you have a conversion. One of my playback in my streaming context, I send a conversion event. Even if I not come from a search, even if I come from an external link, doesn't matter. We take it because it means that these specific users like this content. You don't have to send the conversion from the beginning of the playback. You can say, okay, I will wait 5 minutes because I want to make sure that my user really go to watch a movie. Maybe you can even wait for almost the end of the show, not the last seconds, but before the final of the show. That's things you can have and you can manage with Algolia, and that we require to send to get efficient insights and clicks and facets. What's a conversion? I already said e-commerce, add to basket as main conversion, final order as additional event, add to wish list, non-e-commerce, read articles using triggers like after X seconds or scroll position. That's a way to trigger a conversion. Download it, watch for streaming. That's different kind of conversion. That's always the same concept. We consider a conversion, that an action that proves that user had real interest in that specific content. That's time to go back to your keyboard with our live coding sessions. So if you want to do the live coding session with JavaScript, you just stay here. Nothing to do. You will be with Steve. We will ask the vanilla JavaScript coding session. If you want to go for the React coding session, you will go with Elias. And Elias just posted the link to the event session. You can go back also to the sessions and you will find the breakout room as part of the list of the sessions. See you there somewhere in one of the two. Have a great time with my two colleagues, and we'll come back later. It will be Jérôme speaking about relevancy after a few minutes of break at the end of the live coding session. I'm leaving the stage. Stage is for you now, Steve.
Great.
See you later. We are staying in the chat. We are looking at it. Once again, if you have any question, feel free to share. We'll try to help you.
Fab. All right. Welcome, everyone. Let me figure out how to share my screen in this funky app. Great. Here we go. Cool. So if you are here, great. Looks like you can all see that. If you are here, we are going to, before your very eyes, over the next 45 minutes or so, build a search UI using instant search, as we talked about. So to give you a quick, sneaky preview, this is where we're going, hopefully, all being well. This is what we're building today. So it's the same data set that we've been working with throughout this session, which is a tool that helps me find Jackie Chan films. So that's what we're going. But we will start with a humble blank Code Sandbox template, assuming that you're going to follow along in Code Sandbox, as we've kind of been suggesting through the course of the day. So yeah, today, if you're still here, yeah, I'm getting compliments on my plans. Thank you. If you're here today in this session rather than hop to the other one, that means you're interested in doing kind of plain JavaScript. So within Code Sandbox, if you hit the sort of create new button, you get the option to start from a template. Recommendation is to go for this vanilla JavaScript Code Sandbox. They always give them entertaining names, which I enjoy. If you are following along at home, but for whatever reason aren't using Code Sandbox, you can still do that, and you should be able to. If you happen to already have the tab open from earlier, where we were looking at the data set, you'll find in here, if you scroll down, a few little snippets. So in case you're here and you don't have a shorthand way of getting boilerplate HTML, that's where you can find some. and we'll come back there later as well. But for now, we will give ourselves, a nice instant search sandbox. There we go. We can delete the app. We'll keep the JavaScript file around because it'll come in useful, but we will delete the content of it for now. And then also just feel free to delete the content of the style sheet. So we really do have an absolute bare bones. There's nothing to this, and consequently, there's nothing on our screen at all here. So what's the first step then if you want to build a search UI with instant search? Well, it will be go to the documentation for instant search, which you can find if you go to algolia.com/doc, or if you can't remember how to do that, go to algolia.com and find the developers and then the documentation link, and it'll take you to a page that currently looks like this. It's going to change at some point in the future, but for now, this is what it looks like. And there are two kind of places that you can look for documentation for instant search. The main place will be this building search UI menu item here. You'll see it's already selected instant search JS. If you were going to be wanting to look at these docs because you're working with down the line a different flavor of instant search, you could do so. But for today, we're with the plain JavaScript version. And so you could read through these docs. What is instant search? Getting started. And if you do, you'll find relatively good kind of comprehensive guides on getting started in a sort of real production ready type way. So using a package manager or something like that, and a build step. However, for today, we are going for kind of bare bones, minimal, nothing complicated, nothing fancy. And so if you go to the installation page and then click this directly in your page, that's the route we're going to be taking today. So we can copy paste this little snippet, head back to our docs and then paste that in. And what we've done just there is we've included two scripts on our page. We've included Algolia Search -Lite, which is an API client, a JavaScript API client, but not exactly the same API client that you imported earlier when you were doing your indexing with Jérôme. This is a sort of a stripped back version, which is intended just for search. So you can index records to Algolia using this API client, but it is a bit smaller as a result. And then the second script that we've imported is, of course, instant search, the production build of that. So great. Well, what has that actually achieved for us? Well, what it means is that we have two things available to us now. We have Algolia Search as a global on the window object in JavaScript. So window.algolia search is a thing, and then we also have instant search. Again, it's just popped as a global object available to us. So how do we make use of these things? Well, the first thing we'll do is we'll comment out instant search for a second. Algolia Search is, like I said, an API client. So we're going to want to instantiate that and then assign it to something. So we can go search client is equal to Algolia Search. And then there are two things that we need to pass in here. We need to pass in, firstly, our app ID, I can spell it. And then secondly, we'll need to pass in an API key. And so in terms of these, if you've been following along at home and you've got your own app, your own API key, little hot tip for you, if you come back to these docs, the docs are actually quite clever, and you can see, oh, I've logged into Algolia in the background. So this is one of my apps and API keys. It's a search-only API key, so you don't need to worry. But it'll be these things templated for you. So you should be able to just copy this snippet here and find it magically work. Otherwise, the recommendation is to go back to our data set that we were talking about here, and you can copy paste an app ID and then a read-only API key as well. So I will pop those in here. There we go, ID, and API key. Great. So we now got ourselves a search client. And at this point, we could start making API calls to Algolia if we wanted to. Based on a search client, we could, initialize an index like we did earlier, and so on. But we're not going to do that today, because what we want to do is make instant search, make those calls on our behalf entirely. And so instead of doing that, what we will do is we will initialize instance search. So we'll call this just search. And then again, instance search actually takes an object for its parameters. So instance search, what does instance search require? Well, firstly, it requires a search client. So it requires a parameter of search client. But obviously we can use a shorthand because we're just using modern JavaScript now, so we can just pass in search client. And then the other thing it needs is an index name. And an index name in this case for our data set, I'm going to be using one of the indexes there called Workshop Movies Eng. So I'm just copying and pasting that from my notes. But that is that. So we've got search client, and we've got a search, so an instance search instance. And again, at this point, nothing is happening other than the linter getting angry that I haven't declared these variables, pulling off the global. So I'll just do that. So Algolia search is window.algolia search. There we go. And then const instance search window. Appease the ESLint gods. But again, nothing's really happening at this point. And indeed, instance search wouldn't really do anything either until we call the start method, which is creatively named start. So now at this point, we've got a fired up instance search instance, but we haven't told it to do anything other than we were told it that we're interested in this particular index. Right? So yeah, what we need to do is, as Jérôme mentioned, we've got an instance, but what we need to do is instantiate widgets, because that's how instance search works. It's widgets that live within an instance. And so we can call the search .add widget method to add a widget into it. But of course, what's a widget? How do I get one? What do I need? The start of any kind of search experience is, of course, the search box. It's where you start typing a query. And there's a brilliant page on our docs, which I would highly recommend you visit if you've not found it already, is the widgets showcase. So it's down in the same menu here, widgets showcase. And then what this is like a live, instance of instance search doing its thing, letting you play with it, seeing. And the key thing is it's got all of the kind of common standard UI building blocks. There are more than this. But these are the common ones. So if you're thinking, how do I render, things from Algolia? Go, this is what I'm looking for. Oh, it's hits. Great. And there we have a link to the docs for the hits widget. Today we're using the CDN for instance search rather than using a package manager. So we can do either of these. So we can just grab a reference to the kind of the initializer function. If I can use my mouse, there we go. We call instance search.widgets.hits. And then we'll see in the docs, there is a single parameter which is required, which is container. And that is a CSS selector or a HTML element handle, DOM handle to kind of latch onto. And so what we will do, there we go, is we'll just pass in a reference to a div, which we will need to create. And so head back to your HTML page, just within the body, you can create a div, give it an ID of hits, well, not hits, sorry, search box. Yeah, whatever, search box, there we go. Right, so we've got ourselves, oh no, I'm doing hits, aren't I? Oh, I've gone the wrong way. We'll do search box. Let's do hits, why not? We'll do hits, we'll do it in a different order to the one I planned, but that's fine. There you go, great. My kid has lost my train of thought, sorry. So hits, we'll do hits first, because we can. So we've got some hits, and we want to render some hits in the hits div. At this point, all being well, I should be able to render my page, and there we go. What we've got here doesn't look pretty, but this is a ordered list of JSON returned from Algolia, which doesn't look pretty, but in fairness to instance search, I don't know what it would do more sensibly by default because everybody's records are different. So we'll make this prettier a little bit later on. But let's go back one step and say, first point is where someone types a query. So at the moment, this is just the default ranking of your Algolia index with no query, no filters, no nothing. So realistically, you often wouldn't get there. What we can do is let's add a second one. So I'll change this to a plural version of the method. So we've got instant add widgets, and then we can add another one before. So instant search widgets, and then again following that same pattern of going, how do I figure out what it is I need, and go back to eventually. Here we go. Back to the widget showcase. And then we can go, yes, I'm looking for something to type in. What is that? That's a search by, or a search box, sorry. And again, same deal, instant search.widgets.search box. And then you need a container, which works exactly the same way. So we can type search box, container, search box. Search must be a string. What is that? Okay, I've added a search box div. So add above our hits, we'll add a search box. Fantastic, great, and it's worked like a charm. So we've got ourselves a search box. So now I can go back to my goal, which is looking for Jackie Chan videos or films. Great. Just one last thing to kind of show you about the placeholder and show you, a lot of the parameters and things are quite intuitive. So, for example, the search box, no prizes for guessing how you define a placeholder. And let's go search Jackie Chan, because that's what you want to do. Great. Cool. So we got ourselves a search box, and if you actually search Jackie Chan, you get Jackie Chan films back. Great. So what shall we do next? Let's get rid of the JSON, because that's not pretty at all, and you will all start dropping off if things don't start looking prettier quicker. So how do we do that? How do we change this? Well, the thing to note is that a good number of the instant search widgets, particularly in the JavaScript flavor, and those that follow it, is that there is a templates option. And for each widget, there's normally a number of templates, actually. And so they're listed all in the docs. So there's one for the empty state. What should we render if there's no results? The one we're interested in here is the item template. So we can make use of that now. So we have our hits, and I want to provide, within the templates option, I want to provide an item template. And ultimately, this is going to be a function that returns some data, or returns some markup rather. So I can make a function, return some markup, that's fine. Oftentimes in the docs and things, you'll see the kind of shorthand version used. If you're not familiar with kind of modern JavaScript, again, this is just the same thing, written a different way. But obviously, we want to render the actual item. And so the function that you define gets passed two things, actually, two arguments. First one is the hit. So we could render at this point, we could return hit.title, and we'd render some titles. There's no markup there, it's just a string. And this isn't production ready, but it gives you an idea of how easy it is to do. Most of the time, you're going to want some markup. And so there's the question of how do we handle kind of templating? How do we handle markup? Because you don't want to be munging strings particularly. How can you do that? Well, if you go back once again to the instance search docs, and then where's the link? Yep. So if you go down to, it's been a little bit varied, but if you go to customize an existing widget, and then templating your UI, you'll read some information about how the templating system is set up. There's a couple of options. If you're using JSX already, but not React, for some other reason, you can use those. But today we're going to be using the HTML strings with the HTML helper that is provided by Instant Search. which we can use as a tagged template literal. And the way we import that, the way we get hold of it, is via a second parameter to our template function, which actually gives you 3 things. But for now, we're just going to destructure out the HTML method, which is passed to us, which means that we can, if you're familiar with the object literal syntax, we can do hit.title, but it's now in object literal variable, thing. So we can now wrap this, say, in like a h3 or something. Right, valid markup. There we go. And once again, Chan, great. It's all good and working. So we've got ourselves a hit template that is at least reasonable. I'm just going to get rid of the H. I'm not a fan of it for now. I think it's too much screen real estate. We'll make this, we'll make a pretty template later based on what we're building. I guess just at this point, is everyone still following along that was following along? Take a moment's pause. Let me know in the chat if you or anyone else needs a help with anything. We've got people who can help. It's all silent. Great. Good to hear. Cool. All right. So Algolia search is not a function for some reason. Cat, if you're using Code Sandbox, get your Code Sandbox link in the chat, and someone else will hopefully dive in to help you out. But cool. The rest of us, the next step is going to be to let's add pagination, say, because that was in our demo earlier, and most search experiences have it. So once again, go through this same pattern. You see why I talked about you need to know about this showcase page. What's the pagination widget? There you go. Unsurprisingly called pagination. And again, the only required argument is a container. So we'll do exactly the same thing that we've done before. Give it a div to latch onto. And then head to our index file, and we will create a pagination widget. So instant search, widgets, pagination, container. Hopefully you're getting the hang of this by now. We've got some pagination. So now not only can I see the first 20 results, I can see the second page of 20 results and the third page of 20 results. But let's say 20 results is too many. I want to change that. Now, if you think about this, that's going to affect. I need to somehow configure the hits widget to only show me, to tell it that there's only 20. But I also need the pagination to work based on the fact that there's not going to be 20. There's only going to be, say, 10 now. So how do I do that? How do I make these kind of changes to a search experience? Well, there are some widgets that aren't on the widget showcase, but they are in the docs. And you need to know about them. The one that we're looking at here is the configure. So there's a configure widget. And the configure widget doesn't, by default, render anything to your page. What it does do is allow you to set search API parameters. And here, indeed, it's there in the example. Hits per page is the one that we're interested in. So we use it in the same way that we would use any other widget. We instantiate and add it via the add widgets method. It's just the configure. And then you just pass in the search API parameters that you're interested in. So we are interested in setting hits per page. Let's set it to 10. And just like that, our hits and our pagination have now updated. So we're now looping through these in sets of 10 rather than in sets of 20, which is nice and simple. Next thing, how are we doing for time? We're doing all right. Next thing we will attempt is adding some filtering, right? Because this is good. We've got results showing, but what if I'm only interested in action films because Jackie Chan is only in action comedies? How can I achieve that? Well, once again, we are back to our widget showcase, and we'll have a look at the widget showcase, and we can see, aha, yes, these are the kind of things I'm after. Something to sort of enable a filter. So this is the refinement list widget that we're after. And this one is our first one that actually has 2 required attributes to be passed to it. The container, which is the same as always, and then the attribute. And the attribute is just a case of what is it that we want to filter on? What is it we're exposing to the user here? So let's come down and we'll pop it just at the top again. Instant search.widgets, and then it's a refinement list. Again, same deal. Container. And I need to make that. Then we'll go below the search box. Comments. And obviously the IDs I'm using here don't really matter. Refinements. Unless you don't spell them correctly. Oh yeah, no, I'm just not reading the error. I haven't passed in my other option, which is the attribute. And so this is the one that Jérôme very helpfully set in our data set for us earlier when he declared it as an attribute for faceting. What that means is that he made it something that I can select here. And so just like that, we can now filter down to, films that are action films or films that are comedy films. And by default, there are a couple of things about this that I might want to change. So let's say the fact that when you select an option, see how it kind of bumps up to the top. This kind of makes sense because you can, put these things in the UI and send people to these pages, and it would make sense for the ones that are selected sometimes to be at the top. But maybe you don't want that, or maybe the fact that these are anded together, ored together. So I'm looking at comedies or dramas here. The numbers aren't changing; the counts are just the same. How can I change those things? Well, again, back to our docs. There are a couple of options. There's the operator parameter. There's also the sort by. These are the two that we're interested in. So if we go down to the operator, we can see we can just pass. We can say these should be anded or ored. And then we can also, for the sort by, we can see how that works. By default, in little writing here, the default set is refined, is the first sorting criteria. The second cycle sorting criteria is count descending. But let's say we want to ditch this first one. So we just want count. So what we can do is we can come in here, sort by count. And it doesn't need to be an array though. Great. So now when I select an option, they don't bump around anymore, which is great. But the counts are still the same. So for that, we can do an operator. And then we can just say this is an and. So now we can do our comedy action films, and about half of these will already be Jackie Chan, but then I can search within that. They are bumping around now, so maybe we'll get rid of the operator and just sort by count, and then keep things nice and clean visually, because we're going to style this a little bit differently later on as well. So great, we've got ourselves a refinement list, we've got ourselves a search box, we've got ourselves results, we've got pagination. Functionally speaking, we've got everything that we need at this point to build the demo that we're looking to build. So it's time to make it a little bit less ugly. At the moment, there's no CSS at all involved here. This is just browser defaults based on default elements and things. So how do we do that? Well, this isn't a CSS live coding presentation. So what you want to do is hop back to our GitHub dataset repo, and we've got this app CSS file. And so what you can do is just grab the whole thing and then pop it wholesale into the styles. Great. And then in our HTML file, we'll then need to import our CSS, because it's obviously not included in any way at the moment. So style sheet, and I'm going to look at my notes, because who actually writes this stuff by hand? Styles, there we go. Great. Fantastic. Okay, so we are starting. We've got some changes there. Some global CSS has been applied. But the CSS that is written is not written for just 4 divs. It's written for, there's a little bit of boilerplate. And so again, if you hop back to the repo, and then down to the little handy dandy snippets section that we saw earlier, I have got some snippets for you that you can grab. So this is the one that we're looking at for the moment. It's the markup template to work with the provided CSS. So what we can do is come back to our HTML file, get rid of our demo for now, and then move things into position into this template. So hopefully you should all find that this works for you. So here, pagination goes there. Great, clean up our white space. Oh, code sandbox failing me there. Great, a little bit better. If I bump this into its own window, we'll see we've got a bit of a layout going on. What is letting us down, however, at this point is clearly our hits. We are still just rendering a title. And so there's a little bit of work here to do to make it look all nice like it did in the demo. So the last thing we need to do in terms of styling, and then there's just a couple of other bits we'll try and cover over with the time that we have left in the session, is styling these hits. So we're going to want to replace this template, essentially, with the one that is conveniently handed to us on a platter at the bottom down here. So again, you could type all this out by hand, but we won't. Didn't like that. What have I done wrong there? Ah, yes. Deleted too much. There you go. And so now, great. Why has that not worked? Why are my images not rendering? This is fun. Okay, let's do some live debugging, folks. What have I done here? Let's see some inspecting. In fact, we're not getting hits anymore, are we? We're not doing anything. What have I done wrong? HTML. Oh, I'm not returning it. There you go. Whew. Fantastic. It's the same copy-paste faux pas. There we go. So now things are looking all, yeah, thanks, Kat, for the heads up there. Second pair of eyes. So yeah, we've got some styling now. So we've got some hits. They're rendering. I can at last search for Jackie Chan and see his beautiful face. So I feel like we could stop here, but we won't, because there's a couple of other bits that I think are important. And of course, no change there because everything is action comedy. I wonder if this thriller. Oh, apparently Tuxedo is a thriller. Romance. He has been in romance. Anyway, everybody's learning today. Couple of things to point out. So at the moment when I'm typing, there's nothing to kind of show the user why this result has appeared, which is obviously in this case is fairly obvious, but it's not always obvious. So let's say, imagine that I typed mice, because there's a film, it's got some mice in. I don't know what it's about. I just remember the mice. I can find that with Algolia, showing that we're sort of handling plurals nicely here. We've got that setting turned on in our index config, but it's not highlighted to the user. So this could conceivably be potentially confusing. And so it's best practice within Algolia always to highlight your search results where you can. And there is a handy dandy helper, which is available to you. And it's one of the part of this object with the second argument passed to the item template. There's a components argument. Sorry, attribute, I don't know, object, nested object, that's what I'm looking for. Of which we can destructure a highlight helper. And what this will do is mean that instead of just rendering, let's say, hit title, what we can do is we can instead use the highlight function, and then this one takes a couple of arguments again as attributes of an object, The first of which, one of which is hit, because that's the thing where the data lives. And the second is the attribute that you're interested in rendering from that hit. So in our case, it's title. So now I can try my search again, and bada bing, bada boom, we've got nice highlighting. That works as you type, just like that. Not very complicated. So fab. Right, how long have we got left? Got 6 minutes to make Jérôme not hate me and add events. It's very important to add events to your search experiences if you want to get the most out of Algolia, as I'm sure you will hear about in the following session. So how do we do that? Well, it wasn't very long ago, truth be told, that there would have been quite a few steps involved in this. You would have had to import the library. You would have had to initialize it on the page, wire everything up. But thankfully, thanks to a recent innovation in instant search, to get the very bare bones basic stuff, is literally just insights. That's what Algolia Insights. True. You pass that into your instant search initialization function. And what we'll find is if we open, is that the same as this sandbox? I can't remember. Let's open it out. Open it in a fresh window again, just in case. Oh, it was great. I wasn't sure if that was a different URL. Original demo. If we open this up and then we check the network tab, sending events to Algolia on click is normally something, like I said, you'd have to do. Whereas if I just click now, I'm searching for insights events, and we can see we've got click events when I click that object with. And all of this stuff would have been a little bit manual. You'd have had to ask Algolia for the query ID. You'd have had to manually set a user token. All of these things, pass in the right object IDs, whereas most of it, well, all of it for click events is just done for you. And so that is beautiful. What we don't currently have, which we do have time to briefly cover, hopefully, is conversion events, because obviously we're telling Algolia, hey, this user is sort of interested because they've clicked this, but let's suppose we were selling these things, we were selling these films, and so if someone bought, clicked a buy now button on one of these records, that would be important to know about, right? And it's a lot more important than just if they click it. It tells us a lot more about the user. It tells us a lot more about how good that result was for that particular query. And so what we can do is we can create a button element. This bit, unfortunately, wasn't styled. I'm going a little off piece, but bear with me. Convert on this. So we've got ourselves a little button that you can click. Currently won't do anything, except it would send a click event by default, because anything within this is sending a click event. But we want to send a conversion event, and give myself a little bit more space. And to do that, there's what we need is a method to call, right? When the user clicks this, we want to do something. And so what we can do is the third and final thing that gets passed to the second argument of the item function is a send event method that we can make use of. So we've got send event now. And again, part of the wizardry of this tag template literal is that we can do inline click handlers in a nice way. We don't need to bother about busting out jQuery or anything like that. We can just call send event. No shade to jQuery, by the way. Loads of jQuery out there. And the first parameter is what kind of event this is. It is a click, or in this case, we'll say it's a conversion. The second parameter is the hit that is being converted on, which is what we have already. And then if you want to provide a custom name for this event so that it appears in your Algolia dashboard with a name that you've defined, you can define one at the end. So we can go movie converted. And then what we should find, with any luck, is that when I click, I get a click event. Hit clicked, and when I hit convert, I actually get two. I get the click event that I would have had, but I also get this beautiful conversion event. So that's telling Algolia ding, 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 ding for, this Jackie Chan, for the query Jackie, actually, if only Jackie Chan films ever get clicked on, so I'll, you know, do my bit. If you had dynamic re-ranking turned on, for example, this other stuff, non-Jackie Chan films would drop out of it, and Jackie Chan would own the listings, which is obviously what I would want. So great. At this point, we are coming in pretty much on time, a couple of minutes early. We've done most of it. I wonder if anyone wants to comment. How have people gone on? Does anyone need some help? I guess we can offer help in the last few minutes. Shout out in the comments. I'll tell you what, if you were interested, make use of this last little moment. Supposing you didn't want to send a click and the conversion when someone converts, you just wanted to send the conversion, you can certainly do that. You just have to make use of the event parameter that we were conveniently ignoring before. There we go. And then make your method an actual, give it a method body. And then we can call event dot stop. I'm going to copy paste this because for some reason propagation is a word I struggle to spell. There we go. So now stop propagation of the default event, but we will send our conversion event. So now again, with any luck, I'll reload the page because sometimes things break in Code Sandbox, notably now. Great, okay, let's see. Let's clear our things. So theoretically, there we go, great. So we've just got a single conversion event being sent through now. Fandabidozy, right. Can you show how to block the empty searches param? Block the empty searches param. Are you talking about, so when I haven't got a search query, I don't want to show any results? Tell you what, whilst you get back to me, I'll assume the answer is yes and look for the docs for you. Request.params.analytics. Show how to block the empty searches. Okay, I think I understand the question. So what you're interested in doing is saying you don't want to send to Algolia analytics for empty queries. Strictly speaking, isn't to do with click and conversion events, but this is to do with some people, they don't like the fact that in the dashboard, I haven't got a dashboard to hand, so I won't show you. Don't like the fact that, yeah, you get empty search showing up, which is when someone has, say, searched, if you're using Algolia to power your category pages. Yeah, thanks, G1. If you're using Algolia to power your category pages and there's no query there, sometimes people don't want that showing up in analytics. A lot of the times, some people do. So it's really, it's either way. There can be value to having it, but if you want to get rid of them, there's a demo there. Sorry, not a demo, a guide that G1's just shared in the chat. We start seeing hits when stopping. Yeah, exactly. So the other thing, doc, to talk about this is a search client conditional search. Yeah. There's a doc here that I'll point you to. Reply to you, Mohammed. Oh, I think we are time. So I'll stop sharing at least. Stop sharing. There we go. And then, yeah, Jérôme can come back in whenever he wants to talk. Hey.
Hey, Steven, everybody. I hope you enjoyed that session. I was in the other room. We had a lot of fun with Elias. I hope it was also for you. I just seen the UI. That crazy? That's the same. We did exactly the same in between React and Instant Search Vanilla.js. We have the same experience, and we'll be able in 15 minutes of time now to continue and not work on the UI, but work on how our results are ranked. And that's an important piece of Algolia, relevancy. And we'll go through that with Jimon. Feel free to continue sharing your questions. We'll keep an eye on it during the break. We have 15 minutes. 14 now. See you there. Okay, break is over. It's time to come back all together and speak about relevancy. Jérôme will jump in a few seconds, couple of minutes probably. I really hope you're enjoying your day so far. You are enjoying this session. I see that most of you stayed since the beginning, and that's already a good news for us. We are not too boring. At least I'm sure G1 won't be boring at all, because relevancy is really an amazing feature to discuss about. I will leave the stage and let G1 go.
Sure. Thank you, Jérôme. So let me know in the chat if you still encounter any issues seeing my screen, or if you cannot hear me well. I will be sharing my screen right now, and I will also monitor the chat this time to make sure that everyone can hear me and you can see my screen well. Great. So welcome back, everyone. So right now it is going to be the relevancy workshop. That's strange. I don't know why you can't see me. Okay. Anyway, that's strange. Anyway, my video is active, but anyway, that's fine. Anyway, I'm here, and can you see me now? I've just activated the. Oh, okay, great. Okay, everyone can see my face. Cool. Perfect. I just had to mute myself again and restart again. So here we are. Great. So a quick recap for those who just joined, because I think a lot of people didn't join me for the data session. So my name is Jérôme. I'm a customer success engineer at Algolia, and I am based in the Paris, France office. And I will present you the last part of all this search journey, which is the ranking part. So now that you have learned to code with Elias and Steven and Jérôme, the most important, the last step and the most exciting one awaits you now. So don't hesitate to ask your questions in the chat. All of our customer solutions team will be answering your questions. And yeah, let's get started. So let's look more into detail. So this is our agenda for today, for this workshop. So how the ranking works. We are going to cover the tie-breaking algorithm. And then in the second part, we're going to see the ranking in detail. So how all the ties are working together to provide the best search results. And then in the last part, it will be the demo part on the AlgoFlix website. Great. So how the ranking works. So these are each of the layer. So it's a global view of the relevance layer. So the first one being the textual ranking. Then the second one is the business ranking. And then the third one is the user-centric ranking. And then the last one is the manual ranking. So don't hesitate if you have any questions, and feel free to ask them. So let's look into the tie-breaking algorithm. So this is, I think, the core of our Algolia. So you see on the right side, on the left side, this is our data set. We're going to take the example of Lego bricks. And you can think of Lego as a product or as a record. And on the right side, we're going to apply this ranking formula to sort the bricks among them. So you see that the first criteria that I'm going to apply here is the color. So I want the blue one to be on top of the pink, and then the green one. And then I want the shape, the rectangular shape, to be on top of the square one and on top of the round shape one. And then for the studs, the less is the best. So let's look into detail how that works. So here you see that we have the Lego bricks. So we have our product here. And then we have decided, so if you remember the previous slide, we wanted the blue on top of the pink and the green. So you see that one here. So it is currently being sorted by color, exactly like we have determined it here. And then the shape one, so we want the rectangle, square, and the round shape one on top. And studs, the less is the best. And finally, the result you can see is exactly how we have determined, we have configured here. So the colors, shape, and the studs. And so another example, so if you look at the ranking formula here, so here the difference between the two is that you see that the color here is on top, and on the right side you see that the shape is on top. So you see a slight difference here. The green one appears on top of the round shape one because we said that the shape was first and then the color. And yeah, so you see that the shape one here, the rectangular one, the square one, sorry, prevails on top of the round shape one. And then the color comes second. So it's only secondary that the green one. Yeah, anyway, you got the logic, right? And so for the ranking formula, it's so the first one. So you're going to see in the dashboard later on that you're only going to add the ranking criteria by default. So these are the 7 ranking criteria that Algolia will have, and we do not recommend that you change them for the moment unless you have a very specific business use case. Let's say you are a grocery store and you want, to have for example, geo criteria. We're going to look more into detail after, but let's say if any of the criteria is more important for you than any other, you will be able to change it to modify the order. But here you see that we have hard sort. Sorry, I see your question, Christina, but I will let someone from our team get back to you. I will keep on going. And so yeah, the first criteria is a hard sort. So we have, for example, free shipping. So yeah, and then we have another one that is a custom ranking attribute. So this is something that you will have to determine. So it's a business relevance attribute. So you can have as many as you want, but not too many also. I mean, just I think 2 or 3 are usually what's recommended. And then you have the ultimate tiebreaker, which is the object ID. And I think I mentioned it during the data session. So the object ID is an alphanumeric value that is, you can provide it, or you can, or Algolia will generate automatically one for you if you do not have one. So if you do not have any ranking criteria, Algolia will sort by the object ID. So let's look at the ranking in detail. So type break the bag according to the ranking criteria. So here, the first criteria is typo. So we're going to look more into detail in the dashboard, but you'll see that the first criteria is typo. So you see here that typo, when you don't have any typo on your query, you will have the typo equals 0 appearing on top of the search results. So let's say you're looking for Apple, but then let's say you have another keyboard today, and you type, for example, QPPLE instead of Apple, and now you will see like different results appearing on top here. And then so here you see, so this is the orders, and then it's going after the attributes. So how many attribute is going to match with the query that the user has searched for. And so these are the buckets. So these buckets have all the exact same value on all the ranking criteria. We're going to look more into detail after on the next slide. So these ones are type break according to the ranking criteria. So these are boosted but still textually relevant. Again, so these ones are the filter criteria. So the filter criteria, so it only applies, I would say, when so if a query uses a filter or an optional filter, then this criteria will rank according to the number of matching filter, so that the record don't match a filter score of 0 and that match of 2 filter score of 2. And the next ones, and then you can boost or bury rules. So these are again the filters. So filters are exclusive. I think it was in another slide, but anyway, filters are exclusive, but optional filters can be used for boosting or burying. I think you can add it in your query parameters in the dashboard. And yeah, so this is here the slide with the optional filters. So optional filters are inclusive, records that do not match stay in the bag, and filters are exclusive. So anything that does not match the filter will be removed from the bag. And then if you apply a custom ranking, you see that, so you see that, so records stay in the text. So we always apply the textual relevance. And then if you add a custom ranking attribute, for example, popularity or any other business metric, then it will be re-ranked with the custom ranking attribute. And if you decide to pin an item through the rules, so we have Algolia gives you a lot of options to configure your relevance. We also have rules. And if you decide to pin some rules, you will have access to, you will see that you can modify the order in which some results will appear. So any records, as you can see on the right side, any record inside the bag can be pinned, and any record inside the index can be pinned. So this is really up to you. Let's say if you're an e-commerce store and you have a promotional campaign arriving and you want to pin any item that's a bestseller for you, or any item that you have too much inventory of, this is a really great tool for you to use. And again, boosting, you also have the boosting or blurring rules. So boosting facet is implemented as an optional filter, and filter equal 1 for boosting and -1 for blurring. And let's look at the custom ranking. So this is, I would say, the most overlooked attribute by a lot of our customers, yet it is extremely important to have a custom ranking attribute. So it's a business metrics for you to rank the search results. In the case of our demo AlgoFlix, I think we're going to take, for example, the most rated movie, or maybe the most recent movie, because we have now so many movies that are being remade. So we always maybe look for the latest released movie. And yeah, you can choose any ranking of any business metrics that is relevant for your business as a custom ranking attribute. So example, I've just mentioned them, but you have number of sales, margin, or for example, is featured item, release date. Again, the time format should be in Unix timestamp, and the popularity, number of views, number of saves, any criteria that counts for you, custom ranking, or if you're on a marketplace, probably the sales score, is it a top or suggested seller? And if the record has any image, has more attributes than any other. So this is the strategy that we recommend that you apply. So again, the first one on top is the Algolia texture ranking, often left as default. So we don't invite you to modify it unless you have a very specific use case. And then we invite you to start with the low cardinality attribute. So this is the best attribute, I think, for a Boolean, for example. Let's say are you offering free shipping, true or false, or yeah. So use a Booleans. That's the best. We recommend that you put it on top, and then the medium cardinality attribute, which has a medium impact. So anything, for example, custom ranking, sales score, and then the high cardinality attribute is going to be your ultimate tiebreaker. So it's only, to be honest, you can only have these two first ones, like these are enough. But if you have, for example, products that are all the same, you're selling T-shirts on your web store, and you want to somehow make them distinct to each other, so you can use a high cardinality attribute here, and only use if you have similar products. Or you can sell any, not just T-shirts, but socks or whatever. And so let's look at the impact of a custom ranking order. So if you look on the left side, we have in this order textual ranking, in descending order, the number of sales, and then in descending order, the margin. So you see that the item A appears on top of item B, item C, because we said that the number of sales was on top of the margin. So you see that 15 is superior to 12 and superior to 6. And then on the right side, we have inverted these two attributes, the order of these two attributes. So we have decided that margin was on top of number of sales. So now we have number of sales, that is the margin on top of which is superior 0.30, superior to 0.10, and superior to 0.008. So you see how it changes the outcome of your search results. So you have ABC here, you have CAB here. So that's completely different. So very, very important for you to have a very good custom ranking attribute. So this is something you have to think of before you start your search journey with Algolia, because a lot of our customers think about it only later on, but it's always good to start at the beginning. And then the custom ranking issues that you can encounter here is that when you have, you see that the item A, for example, all of the items are very close to each other. They're very similar. So you see on the right side that the item A, B, C, and D are very close to each other. So the tiebreaker, the tie are not being that well broken. So what we suggest you to do is to have to use bucketing system. So it's to round the numbers. Instead of having 702, for example, you should have 700, and so on for all the other records. So bucketing means that you're going to process. So it's a preprocessing technique to group numbers of more or less continuous values into a smaller number of bins. So exactly what you see here. So 600, for example, they're all gathered in the same bin. So now the most exciting part that I am very excited to share with you now is I don't know if you can see my I'm going to reshare my screen. Okay, I don't know why I've stopped sharing, and I'm going to share. Okay, can you all see my screen well? Let me know if you don't see me or great, perfect. Thank you, Jérôme, for confirming. So now this is the best part of the demo of this workshop, I would say, because now we're finally going to play with the configuration tab on your dashboard. This is the best part. So now you see that I'm in the application DevCon training US, as I just showed you in the data model workshop a few hours ago. So this is the index name. I am currently in the index. So you see that we have named the naming convention, how we are naming our index, pretty important. But now let's look more into detail at the configuration of the searchable attributes. So this is the first step. So if you have so let's just look at our data at our record here. So this is our movie catalog, the movie catalog that Elias, Jérôme, and Steven has been demoing to you during the workshops. So this is the detail of our records. So you have an object ID, you have a title of the movie, you have the genre. Yes, you have all the different types of attributes here. And now what we want to do is to set the searchable attributes. So as a general recommendation, we invite you to have no more than 10 searchable attributes, because if you have too many searchable attributes, your search results will be extremely noisy. And we do not want you, for example, to look for, I don't know, like the backdrop, like it's absolutely not relevant for your users to search for a link, or maybe, inside the poster link or or maybe the year of the movie. I don't think that's a very interesting information for your users. So what we're going to do here is to go to configuration and add a searchable attribute. So for me, what's most important, so you can, if you don't see on the list the attribute that you want to add, don't hesitate to click on show more. So here, and for me, what is the most important when looking for a movie is the title of the movie. I think anytime we are looking for a movie or a series, we are always looking for the title. So I'm going to add that one. So going back here, so I'm going to add the title. And then I can't remember which one I wanted to add after that one. Maybe, so we have, we have title and the original title, but I guess I'm just going to stick with the title. And I am also looking for the actors. Like, I like to search movies by actors. I don't know how about you, but let me know in the slides how you search for movies. I'll adjust accordingly. But for me, it's by actors. Sometimes I don't know, maybe I like Julia Roberts and I want to look all of her movies tonight. But yeah, so I'm also going to look for the actors. I can add it here. And yeah, great. Thank you, Christina, for confirming. So let's say it's actors, and then, oops, I don't know why it's disconnecting me. Oh, sorry. That happens when, I don't know why, but sometimes disconnects me. So I just added actor. I'm not going to add the year. As I told you, it's absolutely not relevant. I don't know. Do you think director is relevant? Are you looking for the director name when you're looking for a movie? I don't know. To be honest, I don't, but yeah, okay. Let's add the director. Great. Thanks, Robert, for confirming. Okay, let's add, everything has disappeared. Nice. Okay, maybe, I should have reviewed and saved. Okay, I should be a bit quicker, and then the actors, and then you said, Robert said director. Okay, so review and save. So don't forget to save. If not, everything will be lost like me, like you just saw here. That's a very good demo. Yeah, me neither. I never know. Like Christina, I'm exactly like you. I never know the name of the director. I feel bad for them because they're the one doing the most of the work on the movie, right? And yeah, I think that's all. I don't know. Do you see any other attributes here that I could add? Maybe the overview, but to be honest, I don't think the overview is really relevant here because, like, you see the description, it's too much. Like, they're naming a lot of stuff, and I just don't want the overview to appear in the search results. What if, oh yeah, genre, good idea, Elias, thank you. Yeah, I forgot about that one. Genre, yeah, okay. What do you think of this order? Are you satisfied with this order right now? Or do you think it's like titles, actors, directors? Because just so that you know, the order in which you are you're putting these attributes matters. So you can, I don't know if you see my screen with the scroller, you can change like that. So that is why it's really important for you to put the order that you think is the most relevant for your business. And so Elias, you confirming, great. So Georges is should be higher ranked than director. And also, I don't know if you see here on the right side, but there is something called ordered and unordered. Okay, so sorry, ordered and unordered. And what it means is that when you have a multi-word query, so in the case of if you're just looking for Titanic, for example, Titanic is a very hot topic these days, but you get the point. If someone is looking for Titanic, it's not going to impact anything. If you are just typing a Titanic, it's not going to have any impact on the order. But in the case of a user typing a multi-word query, for example, Harry Potter, or if someone is looking for George Clooney, then the order of the word matters. So it means that if you have an ordered list of actors, for example, you're looking for, I don't know, Tom Hanks or Hanks Tom, this is going to matter. But so I want the actor's name to be in ordered position, because nobody makes mistakes. I would say, we don't say Hanks Tom. I don't know. Let me know if you ever know someone who calls Tom Hanks Tom, or Tom Cruise Tom, and vice versa. It could be someone else. So I want the actor's name to be in ordered position. And and the title, maybe not so much. I don't know. Maybe sometimes I'm in the mood for searching for Potter Harry or Harry Potter, or anyway. I mean, you can always invert the movie title name. That's fine. And but I want the actor's name to be in ordered position. And I'm going to review and save settings. So make sure to always say review and save at the bottom here. Don't make the same mistake as I did. And so now it's saved. Great. So now what's next? So now I have okay. Oh, maybe I think the actor shouldn't come first. I think the title of the movie is more important. Sorry. I'm going to put it again here. And let's go back here. So now that I have set my searchable attribute, what comes next? The most important part here is the ranking criteria here. Exactly. I mean, I was inadvertently showing you what not to do. Exactly. Don't be like me. Don't follow exactly what I'm showing you here. So here you see the 7 ranking criteria. You have a typo, geo, words, filters, proximity, attribute, just so that, not because you have the 7 ranking. So again, you see that this is, so for that one is quite a bit dangerous. You can also move these ones. But usually, I don't recommend that you change these 7 ranking criteria, neither the order, unless, again, you have a very specific business use case where, for example, you have a geo, like let's say you're a food delivery business. I guess for you, geo is more important than any other attribute criteria. So it makes sense that you put geo on top, but usually I would say geo is not really applicable for most of our customers. So you just leave it as it is. I don't recommend that you change it. And just leave it as it is. And I'm just going back to my record here and check at what can be a low cardinality or high cardinality or any custom ranking attribute that I can add to, to tie break the records. So for me, I think what is really important here is the popularity. I don't know what you think. Again, let me know among all the, oops, sorry. Oh I see that Robert, you just asked a question. Okay, great. Okay, thank you, Elias and Jérôme. I see that, so the importance of having ordered and unordered. A lot of our customers are unaware of what that means, and they all put ordered because it sounds well. It always sounds good to say that I'm ordered, but no, here unordered is better. I mean, it will yield to more results. And going back to configuration, ranking, and sorting. So let's get back just to our, so now I'm looking for a custom ranking attribute. So which one do you think would be the most, like if you're a movie database, which one? I mean, there is no good or bad answer here. You can just pick any, like let's all choose together. Let me know which one you think would be a good fit here. For me, I see popularity. That one looks pretty high cardinality to me though, but I don't know what you think of it. Anyway, I think the vote count is also not bad. You also have the average vote. I think it's a rating of the movie. Anyway, the vote average, so we can add vote average. Really, I don't think it's okay, so I think that Prasad, you just asked a question about the popularity number. So again, this is an information that you will have to provide. This is not something that is automatically generated by Algolia. And this is information that you will get from your users. For example, the popularity, I think this is a metric that you will have. So I see that someone, it's in that case, for this movies dataset, it comes from IMDb. But in general, if you're not a dataset and let's say you're an e-commerce store, I think that would come, for example, from the popularity. Like you can get some metrics, business metrics from your business team and ask them which products are the most popular, probably the most purchased item. I think a lot of our customers tend to take that metric as a custom ranking attribute. For example, how many items, units were sold, and the higher the number, and they're going to add it here. So for me here, for the movie, in the case of the movie, I'm going to add popularity. I think it's a pretty good one. So I'm going back here to ranking and sorting, and I'm going to add popularity here. So just remember, I think I mentioned it okay, great. Thank you. Don't hesitate to ask any questions. Yeah, you can take data for Google Analytics. Absolutely, yeah. So just remember that the ranking, custom ranking attribute here should be a number or a Boolean. So no strings, please. I still see a lot of people putting the date in a string format, but make sure that it's a number. So if it's a date, again, it should be in Unix timestamp format. And here you can choose ascending or descending order. And here you can decide. So let's say popularity for you is more important than the 7 type ranking criteria. Then you can choose to modify it here. So this is you can, again, like the searchable attributes, you're free to modify it here. And again, so now I'm very happy with the popularity. So I'm very happy with my searchable custom searchable ranking attribute. And yeah, and I think that's all for me. I think we can maybe look at, so here you can have a look at all the different options that you have for typo tolerance, for example. So don't hesitate to click on the documentation that's provided here. So this is where you can adjust the typo tolerance. And if you have, for example, multiple languages, so I think you must have probably seen Jérôme, Elias, and Steven during the demo showing you how to, I think Steven added the ignore plurals. So it is in the case where if it is set to true, so plurals will not be considered as typos. So right now it is considered as so we have turned it, so it was false, but now we have set it as true. So it's, so plurals will not be considered as typos. So if someone is looking for anything with a car versus cars, I think there is a movie called Cars, by the way. You see that, this will not be considered as a typo. Let's say someone is lazy and just type car, you will still have the movie Cars appearing in the search results. And then you have the synonyms. So here you can add them manually. We also have stop words. And yeah, we have a lot of features to adjust the ranking criteria. And I want to end this workshop by saying, this presentation by saying that relevance is a continuous work. So it's not because you have done it once, configure it here once, that is the end. You have to, I invite you to A/B test it. Like, I think this is more for the business users, but even if you're a developer, you can still do it. We have this great A/B testing feature where you can test your index configuration and make sure that the relevance is well set. And you can also see, you can also look at the analytics tab and look at the click position of the users. For example, what if someone is looking for, a movie, I don't know, I'm going to type Harry Potter here. So you can see that so this is maybe the one I did wasn't great, because you see that I want the movie Harry Potter. I don't care about Daniel Radcliffe, sorry. But you see right now it's not good. Again, you see that I'm not having really great search results. Like only the movie, the most recent one. I'm not sure about the version of the Harry Potter, sorry. But you see that I'm not looking for the documentary. I think, it looks like a documentary. I can see the genre here, but too bad. I'm not lucky, but there's no genre here. But you see that I'm not very satisfied with this search result. So maybe I'm going to use the rules. I'm going to pin the result, and pinning will make the results that I want to appear on top. And here you can also see, hover on this small icon here, and you see why the search result, this appears in the first position. So you can see, for example, because there's 2 matching words. So I have performed a multi-word query here, Harry Potter. And you see why this result of documentary, Daniel Radcliffe being Harry Potter, appears on top here. So you can click on it here and you can see why. So proximity, distance. So proximity, I forgot to cover that, but it means the distance between 2 words. So here you have Harry Potter. But if I'm searching, for example, for Potter Harry, you will see that the proximity distance here is equal to, instead of Harry Potter here. So it used to be 1. And now if I invert the words, the proximity distance become bigger. Is there any limit or rules on setting change request frequency? Is there any limit or rules on settings? I don't think so. There's no limit on the settings. You can change as often as you want, as often as you need to do. Not that I know of, Ole. I hope that answers your question. Was it the question? Any limit or rules on settings change request? So no, I would say no. You can change as often as you want. So yeah, it's a lot of work. I mean, not a lot of work. I'm not going to discourage you, but it's mostly about, working. You see that that's a perfect example, a perfect bad result for me, because I want people to have Harry Potter, the movies, and not, the documentary or any I don't know what that is. But yeah, again, this is a documentary. I don't want that. I don't know why on the first one there is no genre, but yeah, see, I have documentary. I don't want that. So maybe I'm going to add an optional filter and say for the Harry Potter movie, for the query Harry Potter, I don't want the documentary to appear on top. I'm going to use an optional filter maybe, and yeah, and that's all. And any other questions? Don't hesitate. I think I have covered most of the configuration tab. So yeah, it's a lot of workaround. I mean, not workaround, but feel free to test. Yeah, best way is to test your most popular query and see which ones are returning the best results. Great, and I think that's all for me. If maybe Jérôme, you want to. I'm just going to look at the questions.
Yes,
Great.
but June, I was replying to some questions also.
Sure, thank you so much.
That's why I just didn't jump promptly. I was trying to finish at least one answer completely.
Sorry, I'm just seeing a question by Mohammed here. For filter and sorting the value for a flag, yes, no, is it matter? I'm not sure I understand your question, Mohammed. Did you understand, Jérôme?
It doesn't. For filtering, it's ready for filtering. It doesn't really matter. Let me share my screen.
Sure.
A minute. I can show you some examples. We are a bit earlier than expected. So let's use that extra minute.
Absolutely, yeah. To ask all of your questions.
Some of your questions. That's fun. Let me add some facets. Facets. Let's add on sale. Why not a year or a budget? Year. Actors. Okay, we added a few. It's reindexing, doing its job. 10K records, it's already fully reindexed. You can see that. And we have values here. Something also interesting, we can have search within the search using search within facets. Let me do it on one like actors. I will make it searchable. Just you see the three options: not searchable, filter only, searchable. Not searchable doesn't mean we won't search into it, because if you want to be able to search using the actor name, you need to add it to the searchable attributes. Faceting and searchable attributes are two different things. We build a custom little index as part of the big index for facets. And when we make it searchable, we'll see what it happens. Filter only is also helpful when you want to build technical filters. It's not about facets you want to be able to display using one of our widgets. Filter only, it's for technical filters. Let me review and save. Come back here. And you see that little zoom icon here on top. And I can search for Bruce Willis. And it's there. I can search within the facet values themselves and directly filter there. Algolia is built for faceting and filtering to be able to filter on text values. So you don't have to send an actor ID. You just send the actor name and you filter on the actor name. That works the same. If you send yes or no, if you send 0 or 1 instead of a Boolean, you will still be able to filter on it. For many reasons and technical reasons, that may be more interesting if it's a Boolean to send a true or false. We will do some optimization on our side, I would say, in regards of storage. But if you're, that's important when your index start to be like millions and millions. We have customers with thousands of millions of records, and then in that case, you need to think about each record optimization. When we are under a million, it's still good to have optimization because you need to think about feature, but it's less important and it won't be an issue. Coming back maybe quickly about actors here and what's its and the order question. Ordering, having the order takes is really about setting a searchable attribute as ordered, is about clearly, does it make an importance where the word I'm looking for or the set of words I'm looking for are positioned within an attribute? In most of the case, the answer is no. Wherever I find the keyword within my value, my attribute, it doesn't change. But actors is a valid case because actor here in my dataset is a list of actors, and on that list of actors, they are ranked. They are exactly ranked in a specific way. They are ranked based on when they appear and the importance of that character, so the importance of the character of the actor in the movie. So this one, that's not, if I look at a movie by Bruce Willis, not by, but with Bruce Willis. What did I type? Here is coming from first in Unbreakable, same as Tears of Sun, etc. So we have a lot of movies like this. And if we set that attribute as ordered, any movie where Bruce Willis comes first in that array will come first as part of the result after the ranking. Then any movies where he comes second within that array, etc., etc. So setting a searchable attribute as ordered depends on the data quality. If you are not sure about the data, if you are not sure about how the data is sorted, if you are not sure about how the title of a product is named, if you have a clear naming convention, that's fine. If you don't, you probably don't want to set it as ordered. I hope it's clear looking at different questions. We have a feature called facet display. It's over there. Facet display enables you to manage from Algolia how your facets will be displayed, especially the order. It can work directly in your dashboard because I think we managed that. I just set genres and actors, and in genres, I want to pin the value comedy as the first one. And for the remaining ones, I want to sort alphabetically. Okay, close, save, save. That will be my default facet display. Let's go back on browse, and I have a use facet ordering. When I enable it, I see the facet display exactly as I decided to be in my configuration. This doesn't have any effect right now on your code sandboxes, because your code sandboxes are coded the way to display facets. If you want to use that dynamic ordering, you have to use a specific widget, which is dynamic run. No. Facet display in instance. Okay. And configuring the dashboard. Okay. And build the UI. And dynamic widgets. That's the one. You have a widget named dynamic widget that is available in Vanilla.js as well as in React and probably the others. That's a dynamic widget. And that dynamic widget will encapsulate your widget definition. And that dynamic widget that comes around the widgets themselves will handle that transformation and that organization. And if you want, in some specific cases, to change the display, because I decided for a default one that way, I can change it using rules. If for a specific query I want to change, I want to display different information, I can using rules, and I can reorder my facets or display which one I want to display or not. That's how we go. And thanks for Steve. Steve shared that in the chat. It's time for me to go back to the wrap-up closing sessions we have all together. Let me. Q1 is still there. Good. Did you want to add something, maybe? You're on mute. We haven't done that so far. I mean, if you do a live session and we don't have someone speaking on mute, that's not a live session. And that's a true thing today. We have been live with you. We have been live in coding session. We made typo during coding sessions. We do, because we are humans, and it's not recorded. It's recording right now, but it's not a recorded session. That's the funny part of it. We take risk, for sure. But first, I would like to thank our speakers for today, Jérôme, Elias, Steve. That has been an amazing journey. When I look at the number of people right now, we are close to the number of people at the beginning who joined early. Depending where you are in the world, it was already late for you, and it's definitely later, 3 hours later. Right now, it's 8:15 p.m. for me. I will probably take soon a little drink and enjoy the evening with wife and kids. And I hope you enjoy your evening, your day, your night, maybe already. But let's look quickly at what we've done and where to continue the journey using Algolia to build our streaming platform. What have we accomplished? We imported some data. We built a search UI. We enhanced the ranking, and all that in only 3 hours of time. I don't know what your experience with search can be from previous experiences, but doing that in 3 hours is just amazing. I've been building search with many different tools over years before joining Algolia. I've never been able to get ready that quick. For sure, dataset was ready. We made a pretty much straightforward implementation, but that's real life. That's things that can happen. If you have your dataset, if you know what you want to design, you can build a functional UI really quickly, and then you style. But that's that. Sometimes that's the same people doing it. And how to go deeper, how to build a full streaming platform experience with Algolia, because we can go deeper. You can leverage Algolia on the streaming homepage, but building carousels. Use a carousel like new on AlgoFlix. You leverage Algolia search and you use a sort by date. A for you carousel, leveraging again Algolia search, but using the personalization feature and the user profile to display content that may interest that user specifically. Popular on AlgoFlix, you can leverage Algolia recommend to find trending items, the treated items that convert the most at a time, and trending items that convert a must, that's basically the must watch content in a recent period. Popular in a specific category, you can list all popular categories, once again using Algolia recommend, but that time using the trending facet values model. This model will bring you a list of trending categories. And with that trending categories, you list the trending items for each category. That's how you can easily leverage Algolia to build your AlgoFlix streaming platform homepage. When you are on the show page, you can leverage Algolia recommend to display you may also like or similar content. And you can also leverage Algolia recommend to display a block like others also watch, leveraging Algolia frequently bought together model. That may not be really natural, but the frequently bought together can be considered as frequently converted together. So as we use the conversion when the user watch a movie, frequently bought together works exactly like frequently watched together. We talked and we had a few questions about the popularity. We went for custom ranking. Custom ranking is based on data that you will send to us. Basically, if we speak about popularity here, we expect you to send some information that you can grab from other sources to send a popularity and include it as an information for customer ranking. That popularity is fixed. Whatever the context of the query, whatever the keyword that the user passes, it's always the same popularity. But sometimes, depending of the query, depending of the category page, even with a high popularity, a movie is not the one the users are clicking on. The movie with a high popularity match, but it's not with those keywords the one that is the most clicked or the most watched. And that's where comes back one of the AI feature of Algolia, dynamic re-ranking. Dynamic re-ranking learns about user behavior, learns about clicks and conversions. And once we have the first ranking criteria applied, Algolia dynamic ranking will add on top of that a set of AI model that will boost and re-rank the best products that convert or that are clicked in that specific query. It means that it's not a generic popularity. It relates on the popularity of that product, that movie, for that specific query. So it's really deeper than just a global popularity. It's a popularity of that product, of that movie, for that context of query. You can see here, that's what you will see in your dashboard when you try to understand dynamic ranking. We see that comparison area where you see those little lines crossing each other. You have the default ranking based on textual and custom ranking. And on the right, you see how we have re-ranked and push in front of the users some of the overperforming results for that specific query. Dynamic ranking consider all users. Movies that converts a lot for everybody. When I'm building a streaming platform, I want to take into consideration specific user behavior. Because on a streaming platform, especially, most of the time users are logged in. And as they are logged in, we can learn about previous movies they have watched. In that case, we can leverage Algolia personalization. Algolia personalization builds a profile of your user, leveraging, once again, click and conversion events. For each click and conversion, we will look into the objects they clicked on. And we will learn, oh, that specific user mostly look action movies. That specific user mostly look this director movies, mostly look movies with that actor. By learning, we build a profile. And at the time of the query, we dynamically boost result based on that profile. Whatever it is, when we speak about dynamic ranking, when we speak about personalization, we do not add, we do not remove content, we just re-rank, we boost or bury some of the content in regards of what we have learned on the user or on all the users. That's Algolia personalization feature. And you've learned about it, I'm sure, yesterday, because we talked a lot about it, because it's our latest product. It's going beyond the keywords. It's Algolia neural search. It's at the same time merging results from a keyword match and vectors, looking all around the world for similar concepts, similar words, and including that into the search, enlarging the search capacity over the simple keyword match to understand concepts behind the query. And that works, that could work also. Our first beta testers are focused on e-commerce, but we will extend that. We have general availability, we have a waiting list, and we will have more and more use cases, as well as more and more area of search on that. It will soon be available also, I'm sure, for streaming platform. Let's say that I'm looking for some, I don't know, medieval movie, legendary animals, and let's say I search something like medieval legendary animals, and I find House of the Dragons, for example, because all the concepts behind goes and fit with House of the Dragons, but none of those words were directly within the record. That's what we have, what we can provide with Algolia neural search. And what do you need to build such an experience? What do you need to leverage all the power of Algolia? Events, Algolia Insights. You did it. You've seen it with Steve and Elias. We need events to learn about user interaction and enhance our results. And that will be it for me. I would also like to take a minute to applaud all the team at Algolia that have made the DevCon possible. I think about Julie, Chuck, and team. a really amazing team doing a lot of work. They help us today. They help us, Steve, Jérôme, Elias, and I, to make sure that this workshop could be a success. It has been. We are really happy because you have been quite a few today with us. You have been interacting with us on the chat. We have been looking at your code sandbox, bug fixing with you. You have been fixing typos during sessions also of your presenter, and that was a lot of fun. Thanks a lot. Have a great day. Enjoy playing with Algolia, and I'm thrilled about seeing what you will do with it, because we know that we have a lot of customers doing amazing things. Not only product search that we can see many times, but I know you have a lot of imagination on how to leverage all our features to bring magic. Have a great day, night, evening, whatever, morning. It was a pleasure for me, and I'm sure it was a pleasure also for the rest of the team. Bye-bye.